Welcome to this Q&A video. It's been a while. People have been asking me to do this, I think about a year since I started my YouTube channel. And as I said in my post, I didn't really want to do it because I don't really consider myself as an influencer. But since you're asking, I am delivering. I will do that while I do my skincare because I don't really like sit down videos. I think it's awkward just like talking to a camera. Don't mock this because it's a gift from my brother. So the first and most asked question, why did I do law and violin? It's a long story. I actually didn't plan to do it that way. It was a dream of mine since I was a child to become a lawyer. I didn't even know what that was, but I knew I wanted to become a lawyer. So since middle school and high school, I've been really working towards it, and I even took Latin class at school because I know that in France it helps to get into law schools. I started violin when I was 10, and I realized around high school that it would be nice to do it professionally. At first, I really didn't like it because I hated practicing so much. I still kind of do. After high school, I was accepted into law school, and I was still deciding if I wanted to do violin like really full time, but I was afraid to do so because the music industry is really hard and competitive, and I don't know, it scared me. So I started with law school, but I also continued violin. Around the end of my bachelor degree in law school, I started auditioning and I didn't get into Conservatoire de Paris. I got into the first round, but not the second round. And then I was like, is this a sign from the universe to tell me to stop violin and to do only law? But then my family and my professor encouraged me to continue, and I was looking for auditions, and MDE was actually the only school that was still opening auditions for the next fall. So it wasn't really a choice, it was just really the only school that was free. And then I got in. So that was my last year of law school. Then I already applied for the master's degree of the law school. Oh wow. I got in. I was still afraid to go full-time violin. So I was like, okay, then why not do both? Because that's what I always did. Okay, let me wash my face. Okay, so I am back. I don't remember where I left. That was literally like 2 seconds ago. Anyways, I was saying that I decided to do both because that's what I always did. I mean, since high school, actually, I was like traveling between my hometown and Paris because of the violin. So that's how I got into majoring in both. How did I manage? I was actually just not sleeping. So my typical days were like during the day I go to law school. When I come back home, I practice violin. Then I would go to bed around 10. But oh, what the heck? Yeah, I wake up around 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then I do all of my law school assignments until 6, 7 a.m. because it's really lots of work. Like really, it's like crazy. When I think back, I think I was actually insane. I don't think I would be able to do it again. But yeah, and then when I was done with my law school assignment, I would take a nap. Then I wake up, I practice violin, and then I go to law school. So during the first years, because I had so much to do in Paris because of the law school, I wasn't in Vienna full time. I was just taking my violin lessons, no any other courses. So I was coming only once or twice a month. Yeah, so financially it was manageable because I would most of the time just travel the same day. So in the morning I would go from Paris to Vienna. Then the same day in the evening I would fly back to Paris. Sometimes I needed to stay, and I was lucky to have some friends who would let me crash in. Wow, it's very red. So yeah, financially it was manageable. What else? How did I manage stress? I actually didn't have time to manage stress because I just had so much to do. I guess I was like really motivated to do both. It was really hard, but I liked it because I felt like I was living like a double life. Obviously, I was tired, but I was enjoying it, so I didn't really have struggles with burnouts or stress. I am done with my law studies. I wrote my master's thesis. I had the interview to defend your thesis. So I am done, and let me get my hydrating mask. I would do that tonight. Yesterday I forgot to press the record button, so I was just talking alone like a crazy person. Never mind. So I am on my way to uni and I will answer another question. What I am expecting for the future, I literally have no idea. I don't know. I am just doing my best. I don't really have an idea of, oh, I want to be in the Vienna Philharmonics, or I want to be living in another country. I just have all doors opened and I'm just gonna see where it leads me. Some people are maybe gonna say, yeah, that was a stupid choice because I could have been already a lawyer, but I just didn't want to regret, later, and telling myself that I could have at least tried, because I never did violin really full time. I was always juggling between violin and something else. Yeah, life is long or short, whatever, but it's not that serious. I mean, that's at least what I am trying to tell myself. And it's not because you are already working in the middle of your 20s that you have everything figured out, It's also hard for me not to compare myself with my other classmates from the law school or even in violin, because I feel like I'm late and everything. But I believe that everybody has its own pace and nothing is just too late. So if you have been thinking about doing something, anything, just do it and then you'll figure it out. Because if you stop yourself from doing what you want to do, saying that it's either too late or it's too risky, I know that years later you will 100% regret it. So do it just for the thought. That's what I'm doing. Am I being immature? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I'm having lunch and I will answer another question. Why do I hate practicing so much? Doesn't everybody? I don't know. Because whenever I practice, I'm trying to be efficient. So it's very demanding to be repeating the same things very slowly and to focus on lots of things at the same time. Like the bow position, bow length, speed, intonation. It's demanding, that's why I'm kind of always not looking forward to my practice session. How many hours do I practice in a day? It obviously depends, but when I don't have lots of other lecture schedules, I practice 4 hours. 4 is a very good timing, especially if you practice really slowly and efficiently. What I started doing is that when I practice, I put my phone on airplane mode and then I put a timer so I can really see how much I'm practicing. It really helps, I think. And also just to visualize how much you practiced. If you don't do it, you cannot really see. How do I keep interest in violin, and did I think about teaching it sometimes? I think about quitting all the time. Not only sometimes, but I think that's just a musician's thing, because there's lots of self-doubt, and because you care, I don't think it's like something you can really lose interest for. Because the more you practice, the more you see the progress you're making and also where your focus should be on. At some point, it becomes actually interesting to practice and to analyze your own playing and to improve even more. There's no end. You can always do better. So it's beautiful in a sense, but on the other hand, that's also hard for musicians because you're always trying to improve something that can never be perfect. How I manage stress. I actually have been thinking about doing a video about performance anxiety because it's a subject that is very important to me. I am still working on it. It's been a really long time. I have been struggling with it. And I know how desperate that feels because you practice so hard, but then you cannot show the full potential and show how much you can do. There are lots of methods. I tried probably almost all of them. What I can say is to manage the stress, the most important thing is to build up your confidence. That is the most important thing because we're musicians, but also performers, because you always have to perform in front of the public. What I realized over time is that showing confidence makes so much in how you deliver your playing. How can you build the confidence? It's really, it sounds obvious, but you need to practice. The more you practice, the more you know, like there is less risk for you to make mistakes, and the more you can play confidently in front of an audience. And the thing is that you shouldn't be thinking, I
should play perfectly and I should not make mistakes. Like, I have been practicing and I know how I play this, so there should not be any mistakes. That is, I think, in my humble opinion, the wrong mindset to have. Anything can happen on stage. Like, even the biggest musicians make mistakes. That's why it is called mistakes. The focus on stage should be, that sounds so obvious again, but like really about your music and not about the mistakes, because once you focus on not making mistakes, then your brain is focusing on those mistakes and then you're gonna end up doing them. And even if you do them, so what? Like, music is not, I don't think it is about perfection. Who cares if there's mistakes, you know? Now, how to handle them with a better mindset. I know it is hard to see mistakes as a learning opportunity, but for me, it is actually encouraging, if I say it on a positive tone, to see my mistakes on a recording, because then I know where I have to put the focus more. Imagine you didn't know that. Imagine you didn't even know where you have to practice. That would be really bad. So the fact that you're making mistakes means that the other parts are good. So now you just know where you have to put more energy and more time and more slow practicing in those areas where you do mistakes. Yeah, I hope I answered that correctly. Tips about practicing slowly. But not only slowly, it's not only about the tempo. You need to practice as if it would be a fast tempo, but you practice slowly. For example, you are practicing shifts, then you need to, even if when you practice slowly, you need to do this shift movement fast and then check if the notes are okay and not do the movement slowly and slowly. Once you know the movement, once you know how to do that movement slowly, bruh, I don't know how to explain. But yeah, I hope you get what I mean. You need to practice slowly, but also having in mind the things you need to know, the things you also, probably an advice not everybody would agree with, but for me personally it works. I would recommend to play your piece through it in tempo couple times. After you do that and you get used to that fast tempo, you record yourself and then you listen to that recording. I know it gives the ick, but you have to do it. Like, you gotta do it. Listen to the recording and then you sit in front of your sheet music and you write down where it sounds like shit. You can only notice it by playing in tempo, because when you play slowly, you can actually play correctly almost anything. But in tempo, that's another story. So you need to check both on a slow and fast tempo. And about the bouncy bow, you said you tried all of the methods. Probably I would then just repeat what you already know, but we never know, so I am just gonna say it. I would actually start by re-practicing your contact. So the contact of your right hand with the bow. Check the finger placements, also your elbow placement. If like both are doing okay, then there is literally no reason why it should be bouncing. So your hand plus your elbow and your bow position. I guess it's bouncing when you're playing something slow. Then two options. Either you practice playing with a very slow bow, that takes time, or you just increase the speed of your bow and you just change it more often. I really hope it helps. Hey, another day, another question. How did I buy my violin? Why do I look like this?
Attends, mais on voit mon pied, on voyait mon pied depuis tout à l'heure.
Non, on voit pas ton pied.
Si, non mais s'il te plaît, tu mets pas ça dans la vidéo. Hein.
Mais on te voit pas dans la vidéo, laisse-moi tranquille.
Mais tu coupes, hein.
How did I buy it? I was actually lucky to not have to like buy an expensive instrument. A violin maker who was very kind enough to lend me the violin for a certain amount of time. And also, good news, I passed an audition at MDV where you can ask for an expensive instrument that belongs to the school, and then they would just let you play it for free. So I think in June I would need to go to instrument room, I don't know how to call this, to pick that instrument. So yeah. What do I look for in a violin? I actually don't have any aesthetic preferences as long as the violin sounds good. But sound wise, I like violin that have a big sound that
projects well because since I have a very small body, it helps me to have an instrument that has a big sound. But also, I love those instruments that have a warm and especially deep sound, even in the high notes. Does that make sense? I am doing this because he's losing his hair so much, so I do it just to take the excess, or else he has to do it and then he's gonna eat all of those hair and then he's gonna vomit them. If you're a cat mom, you will know what I mean. And now about MDV. Was the entrance examination hard? Like, I don't know why people keep asking me that, but because why would you expect it to be easy? Like, obviously it's hard, but isn't that the point, to be practicing so much to be in a good school? Yes, it's hard because you have a lot to prepare. Even if you prepare all of those, you won't be able to play all of the things you have prepared. They would just tell you at the end, I'll just play this and this and this from that program. About languages, French is my mother tongue, so I didn't spend extra hours trying to learn that language. German had basis because when I was in middle school and high school, I took German classes. What else? Interview, exam. Yes, I had an oral interview in German where they would ask me just questions in German. It was also part of trying to see if I can like talk in German. And they would also ask me stuff about the violin and about my professor. How long have I been playing and how old was I before going to MDV? So I started when I was 10 and I went to MDV when I was 20 or 21. So I had been playing 10 years. Why MDV specifically? I think I answered part of this question in the first question. So as I said, it wasn't really a choice, not out of pretentiousness, but it's only because I really didn't consider any other school than Conservatoire de Paris, because my law school was already in Paris. So even inside of France, I didn't consider any other school because it was just obvious for me I would stay in Paris. But now I am so grateful that I ended up in Vienna, and that's how I realized that really in life, as cheesy as it may sound, there is no such things as rejection. There's only redirection. I am just so glad I didn't get into Conservatoire de Paris. Theory exam for MDV, it was hard for me, but I think it's more on a personal level because the music notation system was like really completely different. Because in France you say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, and in Austria you use more A, B, C, D, etc. So all those like musical terms, even like major, minor, dur, moll, and also how to write down the chords, like you know, in the chords analysis, dominant septachord, like things like that. I didn't know how to write them in the German system. So that was the most difficult part, but the theory by itself was not difficult. About my student life and my favorite part of going to college in Europe. Student life, I assume you mean like going out and stuff. I don't go out, or very rarely, and I don't really like that, and I don't have the time. But student life in uni, I think it's really nice because MDV has such an amazing campus. It's so nice that people even outside of MDV are coming to the campus to, you know, just to have a picnic or just lay under the sun. And also I think they have a pretty nice system for either Erasmus students or new students. There is an association where existing students are guiding the new ones into all of the administrative stuff, but also they're doing campus tours, and it's really very well organized. So yeah. Also, I don't know how I would be able to compare, how to say, because I've been to college only in Europe, so I don't know how it is really in the United States. Yeah. Orchestral conducting, opinion on how the courses are, audition process. I don't know much. What I can say is that there's a really nice system in MDV called ProArte. So it's an orchestra that exists only for conducting students to give you opportunities to be able to conduct in real life, which is, I think, an amazing exercise if you are a conducting student. Audition process, I know it's very hard because you need to have an excellent level in piano, but also in theory, and but probably I'm not teaching you anything new here. How competitive are the entrants for orchestras in Europe? Depends on, of course, the orchestra, also the country. I know that in specific countries, like in Austria, for example, you have things that no other orchestra would ask you to play. For example, the Wiener Blut or Fledermaus. That is typical Austrian orchestra audition program. So it depends really of the country and the orchestra. I can't really answer that question. Do I prefer going on tour or staying at one place for concert? I love both. I love going on tour because you discover new culture, new things to eat, new landscapes, also new people and everything. But I also like to stay at one place because it gives that sense of familiarity and comfort. So yeah, I would say both. Okay, now it's the time for like other remaining questions. There's someone who asked me if I like Brahms. If I like Brahms, they must have asked the question like 3 times. Yes, I like Brahms. I don't think I understood the question well, but yeah, obviously I like Brahms. Then my birthday. That's personal info. Why would you ask? But I'm saying it anyways. It's the 12th December. I'm literally obsessed with my birthday. I think it's such a cool date, 12/12. So if you want to send me birthday gifts, you can just send me $1 million for sparkling socks. I love sparkling socks. Do you miss me, habibi? I miss you, habibi. It's my friend Hannah. You probably saw her in my vlogs. But yes, I miss you, girl. Siblings? Yes, I have one younger brother. I love him. He's literally like my best friend. And my sense of humor, where does the bro part, what was the question exactly? Where did this bro side of you come from? I don't know. How am I supposed to answer that question?
Probably mental instability.
Yeah, probably I am not stable mentally. I think I'm also kind of weird sometimes. That's what people tell me. I either give black cat or orange cat energy. Maybe that's what you are talking about. I need help. I think that's pretty it for this Q&A video. It was really hard for me, guys. I think probably this is the last time I do this because it was so hard to just like answer questions like this. I don't know why it's so hard to talk to a camera. Also, I don't think I am expressing myself very well. I mean, I didn't want to write a script for this, so probably it was not really well organized, but I still hope you guys liked it, and I hope I answered all of your questions. So thank you for your interest and for whatever. Oh my god, I hate when it does that. I wanted to sneeze. Anyways, thank you and see you next week.